We're at a lineup of some really cool Indian motorcycles with Kerry today at the Vintage Motorcycle Show, and he's going to help me a little bit. I'm a little green on the Indians, and he's a wealth of knowledge. So let's just cruise along. Kerry, this bike, it's got a little special meaning to it. It's a Chief, but it's got some different fenders and all kinds of different characteristics. Can you tell me what the difference is of a civilian Chief over a normal Chief?
Well, a civilian Chief was an essential service bike that Indian would sell during World War II to the post office, the police officers, or farmers that had to have transportation.
Sure.
And they were a little stripped down, and they produced about 500 a year.
So you couldn't buy a motorcycle because this was wartime, so
Right.
this was a necessity. Somebody that had a real necessity could buy one of these bikes, and they were much like the military bike, right?
Right.
Very cool.
Right.
Now this yellow one, this looks like it's somebody's pride and joy. It looks as though they've kind of modified it into a bobber or to personalize it a little bit. What would that have started out as?
This started out as a 46 Chief, first year after the war. But a lot of people would trim them down. They called them bobbers. They bob the fenders and just make them a little more sporty. This is what they did to a bike before they built choppers.
I suppose there was quite a few bikes after the war. Did they continue building some of these same models, or did they change them back into the more stylish Chiefs and things like that then
Well,
after the war?
this would have been a fat fender Chief,
Sure.
with the streamlined fenders and stuff.
That's what motorcycling's all about, is kind of personalizing a bike and making it your own anyway.
Every one of them, yeah.
Sure. Now this is a good example of what we were just talking about. This Chief is got a lot of chrome work done to it. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a real pretty 48.
I love the white wide walls. That's pretty neat. So here we have another little custom.
Yep, this is a 48 bobber. And the guy just built this one. It's a real pretty bike.
Yeah, nice little shooter, a little hot rod.
Yep,
I love
rides
it.
it all over. Yep.
Now, sidecars were big back in the day.
Yep.
Because back in the 40s, you needed a motorcycle for transportation. I mean, we're a little spoiled these days where we don't typically use a bike for transportation more so than just for fun. Well, back then, you had to go places, you had to haul things. Is that what the start of the whole sidecar was?
The sidecar was just for added, you could add on a passenger or two. You could carry your equipment. You could get utility boxes. You could put almost anything on one of these sidecar frames.
Now, was that a military deal? Was that where the sidecars started, or were they before that as well?
Sidecars were a British thing. British brought out sidecars, and then were adapted by American riders.
I see.
And they were used from selling products from your store. You could be having a shoe repair, or you could sell
Sure.
parts and have delivery boxes, or you could carry your family in it.
That's awesome, because you can have fun riding your bike while you got to go to work.
Yeah.
I like it.
I've seen guys carry a motorcycle on the side of one of these and tow one.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, so
Okay, well here's another one. This
Yep.
is it's been custom as well.
yep,
What did this start out as?
This is a Sport Scout, but it's made. Larry built this out of a lot of different bike parts, from 841s. He's done a real nice job here. It's going to be a fun bike to ride.
So this is basically he mocked it up as a Daytona racer. So this has a lot of performance parts in it, as far as the cams, the cylinders, the pipes, and they were very intricate in building these motors back then. As far as they were searching for every ounce of horsepower to race at Daytona or on the dirt tracks back then. There's technology that hasn't changed much over the years, and they started out back in these bikes, I think.
Yeah.
So-
And these bikes stayed competitive up through the 60s. 20 years after they stopped producing them.
A lot of the flat track bikes, they had no brakes, and these guys trusted each other to slide sideways at 100 miles an hour on these tracks. And if one guy went down, you had to know how to whip that bike around and lay it down and stay out of trouble, or slow it down by using the back torque of the motor. And I tell you that they did some work, and they handle unbelievably. There was some geometry there. Okay, so this is just a Chief that looks like it's kind of withstood the test of time, huh?
Yep, this is a 51 that has been put together with a few different bikes, but it's still a great runner. We drive it all over. It's been out to Sturgis and
I love
several times.
I love the patina of it. It's got the old look, as far as it's just a bike that somebody's been driving for the last 50 years. It's awesome. 1947, that is just absolutely gorgeous.
Yep.
Absolutely gorgeous. Every little detail is nice.
Beautiful bikes.
So this blue bike now, this is another one of the civilians?
Yep, another civilian in or essential service in civilian colors.
Sure.
Someone like blue and.
So when this bike was born, it possibly would have been a real creamy off-white or possibly drab blue, or if it was an Air Force bike, would they have used blue back then? Or probably not yet.
I'm not sure. It could come even green.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I've got brochures on it at home. I could tell you some of the color combinations.
Well, we could sit and talk Indians all day. I think we'll do that and shut the cameras off. I sure appreciate your knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you, John.